got an update on, when it comes to Baywood, we met with the architects and we met with the rooftop folks that provide the child care, and they are going to be able to move into the facility, and the facility will be ready for them in August for them to move the rooftops. What's the name for it?
Mixed delivery.
Mixed delivery, which includes what in particular, Lisa?
3 and 4-year-olds.
3 and 4-year-olds. So that's going to be a nice addition to what we do in Baywood. So we've got what Dr. Wicks talked about. We've got the child care piece and we've got the health care piece. So there are multiple parts going into that facility.
I got a question, Mr. Chair. Where previous board meeting, I think it was in April, there was some issue about the deed. You had indicated that the heirs were not located. I think we've had some heirs come forth that the deeds you referenced at that time. Can you update us on that?
Yes, our Steve is going to give you an update on that.
Yeah, and so I have gone back through the title records and was able to determine that the Phoebe Hampton deed with the heirs of Phoebe Hampton and a call it a remainder interest for lack of a better term, or a reversion interest to J.F. Wingate is not in the chain of title to this property. When you go back through the various deeds by which the Baywood property was assembled, that property in question was it's not this property. It's a different it's deed of a different property to the Grayson County Schools.
When that deed references Baywood School, what is it referencing? The deed that you're saying is not involved.
The Hampton
deed with the J.F. Wingate heirs references the Baywood School. What is, if it's not the correct deed, what are they referencing? And because I think the other deed that you provided last night referenced Baywood High School. If I thought I saw that in there.
I think so, that may have been one of the deeds that were referenced. And Baywood High School.
And so the deed that was granted from the school system to the county has not yet been recorded. Is that?
That's correct.
So where has that deed been since 2019?
I think it's been in the county administration office.
Were you aware of that?
Absolutely not.
It's something that I just became aware of maybe 10 days ago.
How did you become aware of it, if you know?
I was looking back through the records that I had, and I was able to determine that what was provided to me were the resolution whereby the school board approved the conveyance of that property to the county. I had the deed, also a scanned copy of the deed that was signed by representatives of the school board, but I did not have a version that was signed by the county, and I did not have a recorded version. So I asked about that. I looked on the circuit court clerk's available land records I have access to remotely, and I was able to find that, well, I wasn't able to find the recorded version of that, and so I contacted Ms. Osborne, Mr. Shepley, and Mr. Smith to kind of backtrack through the history, and we were able to locate it in the county administration office. The best I can determine of what happened is on the probably the 13th of June or July in 2019. I think it's June. The Board of Supervisors voted to accept the conveyance from the school board. The next day, Ms. Osborne emailed me and asked me to sign off on it, prove it as to form so that it could be recorded, and then Mr. Shepley would sign off.
You're talking about 2019?
2019,
okay.
Yeah. The last thing that I have in my records is an email where I asked my assistant to print it for my signature, and then I don't see any records in my files beyond that time. So I don't know whether, I can't say whether a signed copy came from my office to the county administrator's office, but in any event, it was not recorded.
So the original deed that we had been discussing previously that had the heirs on there, J.F. Wingate being
We'll call
one
the
of
Hampton
those.
deed.
We'll call that the Hampton deed. So that, where did we come up with that? How did that get into play?
That was provided to me by Mr. Smith, who, it's my understanding, obtained it from the clerk of court, someone in the clerk of court's office.
That's right.
Because
I went down, that's Everyone Osborne's the one that does a lot of the deed work, and I just went down and said, give me anything you have on Baywood.
And that would have been the only deed recorded, because this other deed's been in the administrator's office since 2019. Is that why we were using the old deed? I mean, because if you think about it, first we're told there's no heirs, then we find heirs, and then after we find heirs, now we also find a deed that's been in a desk drawer since 2019. The perception of this is not good.
I agree. It's sort of a case where everything that could have gone wrong seems to have gone wrong.
Right.
And it was just sort of a miscommunication. When I received the deed from Mr. Smith, he said that this is the deed that I got from the clerk's office. Is there a problem with the heirs? So that's what I began analyzing, and that's the deed that I sent you a few weeks ago.
The Phoebe Hampton.
The Phoebe Hampton.
Right.
Yeah. And in the process of reviewing that and analyzing that, I just couldn't see how that fits in to the property, and so I expanded the search, and that's when I discovered that the 2019 deed was never recorded. But that 2019 deed does have the citations to sort of adverse back and see where the properties were conveyed.
Is that based on the GIS? Is that what you're referring to, where the current deed that you're referring to, not the Phoebe Hampton deed, reverts back to is that the GIS? Is that how we were able to determine that is the actual deed through the?
Two ways. I mean, that's the deed to the Baywood School that the school board conveyed. In that deed, there are deed book page and reference numbers to all of the source deeds whereby the school obtained title. And when you go back and you review all of those deeds to the school board, none of them are the Hampton deed, and none of them purport to have a limitation of reversion interest or anything like that. So the property is clear. I engaged a title search as well as looking at it myself. We had a title company research the title, and it is good, marketable title that can be insured with a title insurance policy, and I would recommend it.
And how long ago has it been since you did the title search to get us a clear deed to this property that we can insure? How long has that been?
I just got the title report back last night.
So
yesterday.
As soon as yesterday.
Yeah.
Would this not be customary that something you would do before you would invest millions of dollars into a property? I'm just being hypothetical.
So,
would that normally be the procedure? You would do that first?
Yes. When local governing bodies acquire property, we always recommend doing title work and obtaining title insurance. However, it's not uncommon when you're getting a property from a related governmental entity like the school board for them to it's not uncommon to just accept the deed and record it. In this case, everything that could have gone wrong seems to have with the misunderstandings.
Right.
But,
And I understand. I can understand the lack of communication. I remember I was on the school board when we closed it and we reverted it back to the county. And I remember there was discussion then it needed to be used for educational purposes, because that wasn't something that falls just on. That's not something Mitch pulled out of his hat, so to speak. I mean, that was there prior to him researching it. Those those thoughts and those
yeah,
comments.
and that was a valid
go that far
limitation, or well, that was a limitation that was in a deed in some chain of title, but just not in the particular parcels that assembled this Baywood property.
And has the deed yet been recorded, or
It hasn't yet. I advised, once we found out that we still had possession of it, I advised not to record it until we were able to obtain a title insurance policy. So that now that we've got an offer of title insurance, we can record with title insurance if that's what you choose to do. And again, that's my recommendation.
Okay. All right, so my next question, Mr. Administrator, is what is the situation now with the water? Do we have a building permit granted by the building inspector to start the process, or is there a holdup with the water?
Well, we shifted away from the original water source for the building. So we're not using the original water source that had to go through a specific filter to be able to enter the school. What we're doing now is looking at digging a new well. And that's where the water approach is no longer the old way. It's digging a new well to establish a new water source.
So do we have to have that new well before we can get a building permit from the building inspector?
We have to, do you know the details on it?
Don't think so. I mean, that's part of the process. They know that to have a new well dug, but I'd have to check on
Well,
that.
do you have a building permit yet?
When you say building permit, can you define what you're saying?
I know that the inspectors probably looked at the plans, probably approved the plans, that the architects, engineers, whatever. But has he granted a permit to begin construction or reconstruction?
Not to occupy the building, but,
To undertake the work on the property.
Yeah.
The certificate of occupancy would be a different question.
Right.
But is there a building permit to start the work?
I think he has issued that.
So is that your position? He has issued a building
well,
permit to
I
start?
just copied everything that's been discussed about it. And I've been doing it up until the last minute I came in here. So I can't just answer the question clearly before you write this up.
Do you want to change your statement, Mitch, or are you equivocally
All I
saying?
say is I think he has. That's not.
Okay. All right.
Core will do the building permit.
Pardon me?
Core and construction, get your own building permit. You don't have to have a well dug to do a building permit. But if you're gonna build a house, it is smart to have a well, make sure you got a well, but you don't have to have a well before a building permit.
I agree, it's smart to have a well. It's also smart to have a clear deed, but the building inspector has to issue the building permit from the county, whether it's Quorum requesting or whatever construction company's requesting. And that was my question.
Is that on that issue?
Yes.
Continue with your report, sir.
Yes. I probably about a year ago started talking with the board about the future and where things were heading in the future, and I'd just like to, I've had a chance to give this to my chairman this morning. I'd like to read it to the board with the chairman's permission.
Yes, sir.
So, May 12th, 2022, Board of Supervisors, thank you for providing me with this opportunity to serve the great people of Grayson County for the past 5 years. I am honored that you had the confidence in me to serve the people of this county. I am particularly grateful to the people of the county that have supported me and made me feel so welcome over the past 5 years. When I was first hired, I told the board that I would probably work here through age 65. I will be turning 65 this Saturday. I've spent 5 years away from my wife and son, and I miss them dearly. During this time I've been away, my dad passed away, and 2 weeks ago my mom, during that time my mom has developed Alzheimer's disease. 2 weeks ago she fell and broke her hip. She had to have emergency surgery, and she is recovering in a rehab center in Wilmington, North Carolina. My sister lives in the county, but she is ill, unfortunately. And so it's incumbent upon me, and what I want to do to help my mom, I want to be able to get down and be with her. And she's 92 years old, and I'm not sure how much longer she's going to be with us, but as a dutiful son, I want to be there with her. For all these reasons, I feel it is time for me to move on to the next phase of my life. Therefore, I'm officially notifying the board of my impending retirement from this role. As required by my contract, I will continue to work for the next 90 days. My last day of work will be August 10th, 2022. Again, I appreciate the great people of Grayson County, and I've been honored to serve all of our citizens for the past 5 years. Liam Shepley. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. Appreciate your work.
Thank you. That's all I got.
Well, that's a hell of a way to end your report. I think I have that list unless there's any additions to it, Mitch. Is there another report? Okay. There was a number of people that had signed up to speak for the 6-year plan, which only left one name that was not on there. It was Miss Ann Rose.
I'm the only one speaking.
You can do it, Ann.
Come on, you guys. Sorry, I made all my notes on my phone. My name is Ann Rose. I live at 15 Discovery Lane in Elk Creek. You know, I came to the January meeting and I listened to this three parts to this Baywood project, and it just seemed a little murky to me, you know, about how we're going to be spending all this money, and we got a grant, and now we're going to spend 1.5 million plus, and it's going to end up being much more than that. So I guess I have concerns about that. How much more money is it going to cost? I mean, I know the board has already allocated this money, but you know, I don't have a lot of confidence in a project that's so far away. And is it really going to be a methadone clinic? Is that what it's going to end up being? And it's going to be childcare, Suboxone, you know. So there's all these things that people that I associate with have questions about. And at the January meeting it was the police need radios, they need towers, the police need this, you know. So and here we are, we're spending $1.5 million on something that, to me, I feel is kind of repetitive. It's at one end of the county. In fact, we just drove there today, my husband and I. We said, well, let's just go see where this place is at, you know. So, I guess I just see it as a bottomless pit. That's what I see it as. And I also see it as Grayson County citizens funding a private medical agency. That's my opinion. That's how the people that I associate with feel. And does the Baywood community people that live around there, do they know it may end up being a Suboxone clinic? Do they know that? A methadone place? Do they know that? I guess I heard that it closed, 4 or 5 years ago. Baywood closed. The board didn't want to buy any well. The board there was an elevator that needed to be put in there. There's asbestos, and all of a sudden, gee, let's do it again. You know, let's try and rehab this building for this clinic and the child care and the education. But I just have concerns that it's a repetitive thing, and it's a private company. And that's how I feel about it. Let me see, what else have I had? And 2 cents of our tax dollars have already been obligated to this project. It seems like it's kind of rushed through, and I think people like me, we still have lots of concerns about this project. And people that I associate with are wondering, Miss Supervisor Belton's son, is he going to somehow, how do I word it, benefit from this project, from the MOOG, M-O-O-G? I mean, people are talking about that. So, it's not just me talking about these questions and concerns that us citizens have of footing this bill that's going to be much more than $1.5 million. We know that. So, I would feel better if there was more county discussion, if the citizens were more involved, if it was a little bit more transparent about what is actually going to be going on in this place. And it's just funny about this whole deed thing you guys were just talking about. It's like, presto, boom, the deed appeared. So that's what people that I run with, people that I associate with in this county are concerned about. There just seems to be a little bit too much non-transparent stuff going on in here with our tax money. That's how I feel.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And
Mr. Hatch, I know my name's not down there. I started to write it down, and so many other people. I would like, if you don't mind, I would like to just make probably 2-sentence statement. Is that okay?
Put you,
I just really,
step up here.
Sure.
We have,
I just, like I say, there were so many people here tonight, and I decided to be
How
quiet.
do you spell your name? What's your name?
Oh, Wanda Pinion.
opinion.
9476 Elk Creek Parkway, Elk Creek, Virginia.
9674.
Yeah, somewhere around there. The deed concerns me tremendously because I worked for the attorney that when the Baywood School was closed. Mr. Wilmore came to the office and asked for him to do a complete title search on all the Baywood property. He brought in and handed him these deeds. And he spent hours going through this. And I distinctly remember that there was a portion of that property, if it was not used for educational purposes, would revert back to heirs. I have reached out to him. I'm hoping to get a thumb drive with that information on it. But I mean, that's, my memory isn't that far out. Just because I've lost a little bit of it over my, because I'm 69 years old, I'm still not crazy. I do remember these conversations, and I remember this distinctly going on paper. So, and then it was handed back, everything was handed back to Mr. Wilmore. What attorney prepared that deed? Do you know what the name was?
The deed to the
To the property that has not been recorded.
Roger Brooks.
Okay. That's the attorney I work for.
All right. So that's all that we had listed. And so, no one made mention of request for supervisory time, registered speakers. Have on our agenda a closed session and motion to move into closed session for discussion related to investment of public funds where competition or bargaining is involved pursuant to 2.2 3711A6 of the Code of Virginia, and for the consultation with legal counsel and employed or retained by a public body regarding specific legal matters requiring the provision of legal advice by such counsel pursuant to 2.2-3711A8 of the Code of Virginia.
And Mr. Chairman, just to give the third component of the closed session, the general topic would be possible discussion concerning negotiations with a community service organization.
Community service. Okay, entertaining a motion to go into closed session. Got a second?
Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I also aye. In closed session. Thank you.